So, I like to talk a lot on this channel, and I like to talk a lot about my thoughts and feelings about things in Sonic Adventure 2, but I never really give rise to anybody else. So this video will be just that. I'm going to go over Reddit, I'm going to look for a tier list to look at for this video, and we're going to sort of dissect it and share our opinions about it. If you guys have any opinions in the comments you'd like to share in contrast with mine, you absolutely can. I encourage it. I'll provide a link in the description to this post if you want to check it out for yourself. So firstly, I apologize for I cannot say your username if you ever come around to watching this, but I want to thank you for sharing your tier list with the community anyway. Let's start with the bottom ones. So this is a little bit low resolution, but we can make it work. In Eternal Suffering, our worst tier, we have Eternal Engine. Oh, that one hurts. I thoroughly enjoy Eternal Engine, but I am very well aware it has its issues. Still, putting it as the worst stage of the entire game in its own terrible tier, I don't know, this one hurts a little bit. I think this is a little harsh, but we'll continue on. For the E tier, we have the route levels, which, honestly, I completely understand. Now, I wouldn't lump 101 with 280. I think 101 is the better of the two evils, and thereby I would put 101 in D tier. I still get it. I completely understand. I have no complaints with this. Now, I can't definitively say if these stages are ranked in order where the user is saying that Mission Street is worse than Prison Lane, but what I can say is, I don't necessarily agree that they deserve to be lumped together. Prison Lane, in my eyes, definitely deserves to be in D tier. Everybody knows that I have nothing but just absolute numbness when I talk about Prison Lane. As for Mission Street, I support it somewhat. It's not a great stage by any means, but everything from its atmosphere to its music, it's not super bad in my eyes. And the platforming there is half good, so I don't know, I could justify bumping up Mission Street to at least C tier, but you know what? Good picks, I understand. Now, C tier is very expansive, so I'm gonna go through these quickly. Hidden Base is definitely C tier level, and an aesthetic I already don't really care about. It has some poor enemy placement in there, but the flow of the stage isn't too bad. As for Sand Ocean, it's about the flow. I always talk about how Sand Ocean pre-hover is genuinely D or even E tier, but post, it's actually pretty decent, so I guess between both variants, C tier is very fair. Lost Colony, Headquarters, and Iron Gate, well, that's an interesting assortment for C tier. To speed through these as fast as I can, Lost Colony, I think it earns its merit through its story rather than its gameplay. The gameplay in itself is just kind of okay, but the idea of going into this deserted building that's been shut down for 50 years, it has an atmosphere that not a lot of other stages can compete with, but I'd rather appreciate it from a distance than actually participate in it, if that makes sense. For Headquarters, if you want to talk about the security drone, that kind of detracts from the stage, but I think its design and the way that it's built is actually a really big plus, and for that reason, I enjoy it a lot. And Iron Gate, honestly, it's just a better Prison Lane, so if Prison Lane's a D, Iron Gate's rightfully in C, 100% fair. For our last C tiers, we have Dry Lagoon, Weapons Bed, and Green Hill. This one's a little shocking to me. Now, keep in mind that this tier list goes up to A, not S, so C's aren't as bad as it may seem. Now, for the case of Dry Lagoon, you can make the argument that it's just the shadow of Wild Canyon, but it's a very good shadow. You know what I mean? It's still a good stage. It has a lot going for it. The turtle thing's really cool. I think it's great. I think it should be B. But, you know what? C's still alright. We can move on. For Weapons Bed, I guess I understand. The enemy placement there isn't particularly great, and constantly having to stop and break steel crates is not necessarily the most fun. Not really any complaints. Now, putting Green Hill at the top of C tier might be a hot take, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm right there with the user. I fully agree with that placement. Green Hill is not a bad stage, and I've constantly said this again and again, but the novelty lies in actually unlocking Green Hill, rather than playing it. The excitement of revisiting a piece of Sonic's past is what makes it so good. If you actually play the stage, you're not going to have the most fun doing so. In fact, I think it's the second weakest running stage in the game. As a whole, I might disagree with a couple C tier picks, but for the most part, this is a very good list so far. Now, going into B tier, I think some of you are already aware that I have some bones to pick, one in particular, but we'll get there. Let's start with Death Chamber. I think that Death Chamber is an overhated stage, and I'm glad to see that it's getting some positive reception on this tier list. Very good. Happy to see it. Yes, it has its flaws. I'm aware. I'm not going to stand here and say it's a perfect stage, but it's a pretty good one, and if you can look over some of those flaws, I think you'll have a good time. So, Crazy Gadget, Final Chase, and Final Rush. interesting picks. So firstly, Crazy Gadget being in B tier makes me happy. I understand that it has qualities that some people don't like. Personally, I'm a big fan of Crazy Gadget. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece of a stage, but I would say it's definitely a very good one, and always makes me happy to see the defenders of Crazy Gadgets. Now, putting Final Chase in B tier? Ooh, boy. Here's the thing. I understand wanting to like Final Chase. Okay, it's challenging, it's thematically appropriate. I get that it has those good qualities, but it is buggy. And that's talking about a stage in a game that's already very buggy as it is. But Final Chase cranks that lack of polish to an 11. And I think that 11 is too much for a B tier. I would say, objectively speaking, it's locked in at C or worse. I don't think it could ever be B. But I understand it is opinion. And while I disagree on this one, you're entitled to such. So I'll keep my hands off. Now, Final Rush being in B tier. I don't hate the fact it's in B tier. I just don't love the fact that it's not A. You know what I mean? I think Final Rush is a masterpiece personally. In fact, moments before this, I just published a short saying exactly that. So to see it be treated as not quite a masterpiece, it rubs me the wrong way. Still, B tier, it's not terrible. I can get past it. Now let's check out our next set. I was able to get a set of 4 here. So we got Pyramid Cave, Meteor Herd, Mad Space, and Security Hall. Let's dissect this one. Pyramid Cave's position is totally fair in my eyes. It's not a masterpiece, and it shouldn't be treated like one, but it's still important to acknowledge that it's great. It's a great stage. It just doesn't hit that really high note that stages need to reach that status. Still, love Pyramid Cave. As for Meteor Herd, you know what? I don't necessarily agree that it's on par with something like Pyramid Cave, but I do like it to some extent. I could totally get by it being in C tier, but you know what? B tier, I can accept it. It's a good stage, respect it, awesome. And now, Mad Space. You put Mad Space in B tier, the most maddening of spaces, and it's in the second best tier of your list. What? Why is this here? Why? It's broken, it's poorly designed, why is it here? It's ambitious, I'll give it that much, but why is it in your B tier? Why is this God forbidden stage considered so positive? It's bad! I hate this stage! I am so sorry for the person who made this tier list. If you have a valid reason for why you put Mad Space here, all the power to you. I personally just cannot bring myself to understand as much as I would personally love to. I can't. I'm sorry, I gotta run away from this one. However, the lack of Security Hall slander makes me happy. B tier is a great spot for it, and a lot of people do say it's a little too hard with its 5-minute timer, but it's just a rectangular prism. It's not too hard to traverse through. I really like Security Hall. It's one of my favorite treasure hunting levels, so good on you. B tier is great. Now for our last ones of B tier. Cannon's Core, Aquatic Mine, Cosmic Wall, and Metal Harbor. Well, alright, let's go through them. So, Cannon's Core is hard to argue, and that's because it's got a really subjective taste. Some people might like the entire concept of Cannon's Core a lot, enough to propel it into C or B tier. Personally, for me, it would sit closer in D, just because I don't really like how tedious the stage is. There's a lot to it, and I can appreciate that, but it's just not the most thrilling experience. And the best part of the stage, or the would-be best part, that being Sonic's, is just too short-lived for my liking. So as a whole, I find the stage personally mediocre. But, you know what, I guess I could understand. Had you put it in A, I'd probably have another meltdown, much like Mad Space, but I do appreciate the perspective nonetheless. Aquatic Mine is another example of having a relatively subjective taste. It's not really definitively good or bad at face value. It's sort of up to the player to really decide if it appeals to them or not. Aquatic Mine for me is probably a C tier, maybe a high D tier, but, you know, if it works for you, I don't really see anything that's, like, factually wrong with it that would actually detract from it in real time. It's just either your thing or it isn't. It's not my thing, it's probably the users. All the power to them on this one. Okay, in the case of Cosmic Wall, is it an A tier stage in my eyes? Barely. I would squeeze it in there, albeit at the bottom. Do I understand those who say it's a B tier? Yeah, totally. If it's because the sheer length of it's a little daunting, or you're just not much of a mech player and it's not your thing, I can understand either way. But it's good to see that it's still viewed in a positive light. Now, for my boy Metal Harbor. What did it do? Is it just because it's too short? Because if that's the problem you have with it, it pains me to say I understand. It is a short stage, but it's a beautiful stage, even if it's mostly gray. Metal Harbor is best expressed through what's on the inside, the thousands of beetles and rings you'll be collecting along the way. How could you do this to my boy? It deserves to be A tier. Objection! Now our final tiers, the A tiers. Pumpkin Hill being an A tier, I can absolutely get by. Its aesthetic and atmosphere are absolutely undefeated in this game. They're so unique and stand out so much above the rest. It's really amazing. The gameplay, conversely, while not quite as strong, is still good enough to say it does qualify as a masterpiece. I would agree with this placing. Very good start to your A tier. Now, putting Skyrail in A tier. I want to agree. I really do. I think Skyrail offers a lot of fun moments, but it's so painfully short, and it's kind of unreliable. If you want to speedrun Skyrail, it's a risk in its own way just because of how buggy it can be sometimes. It's very contingent on rails, which, as seen in Sonic Adventure 2, doesn't always end in the best result. Final Rush being that exception. If the user can overlook that and just enjoy Skyrail for what it is, then by all means, I guess I can see it, but I can't personally agree fully. Now for Radical Highway's placement in A tier. Honestly, 100% valid. Radical Highway is a great stage. It looks amazing, the soundtrack's great, I love the iconic bridge section, there's so many routes to navigate through. How can you not love Radical Highway? Maybe if you play it too many times you'll get sick of it, but other than that, honestly, it's one of the most universally loved stages in Adventure 2, and for good reason. Now, having Green Forest in A tier, I'm all for it. I love Green Forest. Over the years, I've never really given it the credit it deserves because, let's be honest, it is still in the shadow of stages like Final Rush, Metal Harbor, Cityscape, but Green Forest is great. I love playing through Green Forest. It might not be the most beautiful looking stage ever because green gets a little repetitive there, but I really don't care about that. It's constant, high octane, high action. I love Green Forest through and through. Amazing stage, and definitely deserves to be A tier. Good on you for acknowledging that. Now, again, I don't know if these are ordered in any way, but having White Jungle, Wild Canyon, and City Escape finish out this list, let's talk about that. Now, putting White Jungle in A, I don't know if I'd personally do the same. If I would put White Jungle toward bottom A. Just because in every way, I think it's inferior to Green Forest. I think Green Forest is just more fun to navigate through. I think the only thing that White Jungle is definitively better in would be just the overall atmosphere of White Jungle. I do enjoy the murky kind of look to that a little more than just the obsessed green that's in Green Forest. Aside from that, though, I don't know. I find a lot more thrills coming from Green Forest. So I mostly agree on this one. It's still a really good spot if you do like them. Again, I don't know the order, so I can't say whether you like Green Forest more or less, but A tier, I get it. I do. It's a good stage. I just don't know if it's that good. Now, one thing I absolutely love to see, having Wild Canyon in A tier. This is what I'm talking about. This is the type of list I like to see. Wild Canyon is not appreciated enough. It's a great treasure hunting stage, and for a lot of people, it was their first in Adventure 2. It's so simple, it's so straightforward, it's pitifully easy, but who cares? It's so much fun. I don't even care about the aesthetic that much, but just the overall flow and design of the stage, it is unmatched in Adventure 2. But I kind of notice a contradiction here, unless the user was to somehow reach out and explain that to me. Why is Wild Canyon in A tier, but Dry Lagoons in C tier? If they're more or less very similar stages, why are they so far apart? Is it on behalf of the fact that Dry Lagoon feels like Wild Canyon, but inferior? And for that reason, it's in C? I don't really know, but who cares about Dry Lagoon? Wild Canyon is way better. Wild Canyon supremacy. Love to see it. Thank you for acknowledging its greatness. Now, I can't tell if the user is saying that this is their favorite stage or one of their favorites grouped up with everyone else. I don't exactly know the angle they're going for on this one. But to say that whatever perspective, Cityscape's a masterpiece in my eyes is entirely accurate and 100% deserves to be A tier. This is going to be the first stage that most players give a whirl. aside from those who decide to start off with Dark Story and their first impression is Iron Gates, which, not quite as strong of a foot to start off on. But for those who chose the hero story, this is an immensely powerful first impression to go with, and it's a fantastic one at that. It's an extremely well put together stage. Even if it's not your favorite, you have to admit at least that. And with that, I think we said all we need to about this list. So this is the final result of that list, if you wish to look again, and all in all, it's a very strong list. Yes, there are bits and pieces I do disagree with, particularly that mad space bit, but you know what? I can see the vision in a lot of these placements, so I think it's a very respectable one. So I want to thank the user for sharing their opinions with the world and giving me the opportunity, even if indirectly, to take a look at it and share it with you guys. And if you could, maybe add some of your own thoughts to the comments section. It's always a lot of fun to see what perspective that you guys have that is indifferent to mine. I've seen a lot of interesting opinions that I give a lot of consideration to. So please, feel free to share if you feel you need to. With that in mind though, thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care for now. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.